Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the participants. Yesterday, we have discussed the thematic analysis with its real life application, along with some of the research papers in which the thematic analysis was used. Today, we are going to discuss the content analysis by Professor Klaus. What are the steps involved? What is the detail of each specific step? For conducting a content analysis along with a real example of applying the content analysis as well as some of the research papers that discuss in detail the application of content analysis with the help of NVIVO. Myself, Zahid Bashir, I am a faculty member at Department of Commerce, University of Gujarat, and a PhD scholar at Halle College of Commerce. So, yesterday we have discussed the concept of thematic analysis and its application. Today we are going to discuss the content analysis and its application. Tomorrow I will discuss the thematic analysis versus content analysis. And the last but not the least is discourse analysis and its application tomorrow. Because tomorrow is the last day of weekend. And from Monday, we are finally starting the NVIVO process. I will let you know the overview of NVIVO and its usage along with its installation process and establishment of the project. And I will let you know the step-by-step process of how to analyze a qualitative data using NVIVO software. Yesterday, I have discussed with you the content analysis in detail, along with its steps and its application by discussing some of the real example. And I have also analyzed how a thematic analysis report will look like. And I have also discussed some of the papers relevant to thematic analysis. Today, we are going to discuss the content analysis, what it is, and how we can conduct our research on content analysis using content analysis. So, content analysis is a research method used to analyze textual, visual, or auditory content in a systematic and objective manner. It is a qualitative research technique that involves identifying, coding, and categorizing pattern or themes within the data. Content analysis can be applied to various types of data like social media such as written documents, audio recordings, video clips, and image. So it is an alternative tool which is applied instead of thematic analysis if you are interested to apply the content analysis. The application technique is somewhat different, but they also create the themes and categories within the data. So content analysis in its simplest form is a research method for interpreting and quantifying textual data. You are going to quantify your textual data such as speeches, interviews, articles, social media posts, and so on. So it allows researcher to sift through large volume of data to identify pattern, themes, or biases and turn these into quantifiable variable that can be further analyzed. So content analysis is basically the transformation of your qualitative data into quantifiable variables. So through content analysis, you basically transform your qualitative data into quantifiable data or quantitative data. This is Professor Klaus Trippendorf, and he has published his first book on content analysis, while the latest version of that book is available with the year reference of 2018. These are the steps which are summarized by Professor Klaus. It includes unitizing, sampling, recording, reducing, inferring, and narrating. Using these steps, you can apply the content analysis. So first of all, I will explain in detail each steps with example how to understand that particular step, and after that I will elaborate these steps with reference to some real example for applying the content analysis. So the first step in this phase is unitizing. Unitizing means creating a unit of analysis for your data, for your scheme. So unitizing involves determining the basic unit of analysis or the smallest meaningful segment of the content that will be coded and analyzed. So you need to decide from where you are going to analyze your research. You need to decide the smallest meaningful segment of the content that will be coded and analyzed. So here you also code the data, but first of all, you need to decide which content of your data will be used for coding and analysis. These units could be words, phrases, sentences, paragraphs, or entire document. So you need to decide which would be your unit of analysis, whether it would be words, whether it would be phrases, whether it would be sentences, whether it would be paragraphs or entire document, depending on the research objective. So first of all, you need to decide the research question or research objective. Then you can decide that by meeting that research objective, what would be your unit of analysis, whether it would be word, phrases, sentences, or paragraph. Uh, Before coding the content, it is essential to define what constitute a unit of analysis. So here the coding start after you decide the unit of analysis. So this step establish the foundational element that will be examined and coded during the content analysis process. So always remember, first you need to decide the objective of your study. Then you need to decide the unit of analysis under this scheme, that which one would be your unit of analysis. And after that, you code your data. So the second step under content analysis would be sampling, relying on sampling plans. So sampling involves selecting a representative subset of the content or data set for analysis. You need to decide what would be your sample. The sampling plan outlines how the sample will be selected and what criteria will be used to ensure the sample representativeness. So in this step, you need to decide your sample size as well as your sampling approach. How will you draw your sample, whether you are going to use the random sampling method like simple sampling, as a simple random sample, systematic random sample, stratified, uh, or cluster-based sampling, or you are going to use the non-random sampling methods like convenient sampling, purposeful sampling, judgmental sampling, quota sampling, or snowball sampling. So you need to decide which sampling method you are going to use and what sampling size you will be using, which will ensure the sample representativeness. So sampling is crucial to ensure that the analyzed data is representative of the entire content or population. The sampling plan should specify the sampling technique, sampling size, and the criteria for selection to ensure the validity and reliability of the content analysis. So always remember that your content analysis would be valid and reliable if you ensure your sampling method and sampling size. As a third step, you need to consider recoding coding. It means that you are relying on coding instructions. In this step, you are going to decide about what kind of codes you are going to use. So recoding or coding involves applying the coding schemes to the selected unit of analysis. The coding instruction provide guidelines or rules for categorizing and coding the content based on the predefined coding scheme. So so first of all, you need to predefine your coding scheme. This is similar to initial codes and axial codes and selective code also. So you need to define what codes you are going to use based on your analysis scheme. So you need to decide your code, and you also need to decide whether these would be manual coding scheme or auto coding scheme, because using NVIVO, you can also create the automatic codings of your data. It is an option which is available in NVIVO, but I would not prefer this option because it does not give 100% accuracy, because the researcher only knows the context of his or her study. Therefore, the researcher will decide which codes should be included in this whole process. While the software cannot understand the context of the study, therefore, it will not generate the 100% accurate code. So I would prefer that the code should be manual. Uh, in this step, the content is systematically analyzed by applying the coding scheme to identify and categorize specific themes, concepts, or patterns. So this can be done manually by human coders or using automatic coding tools, as I have already explained. But I would prefer human codings, depending on the complexity and nature of the content. The fourth step is basically reducing data to manageable representation. So this step involves summarizing or simplifying the coding data. In this step, you basically review your codes. Some of the codes may be irrelevant, and some of the codes, I think there was an interruption by the internet. Let me ensure. Yes, now this is again connected. Let me connect with another internet again. All right. So let me share the screen again. All right. I was discussing the fourth step, that is reducing data to manageable representation. I have discussed that you need to revise your codes. Maybe some of the codes are irrelevant, or some of the codes may be more than your desired objective. So this step involves summarizing or simplifying the coded data to make it more manageable and interpretable. It often relies on established statistical techniques, qualitative methods, or the method for data reduction and summarization. So you need to exclude some irrelevant code, or you can also integrate two codes into one in order to make them more manageable for you to decide which codes are relevant and which are not, and which two codes are representing the same thing. So you can integrate them. So after coding the data, it may be necessary to reduce the data to focus on the most significant themes or patterns. This can involve using statistical method to calculate frequencies or percentage of specific codes. So if some codes are giving a lesser amount of frequencies or percentage, you can integrate those codes into others that are most demanding in nature. The fifth step is inductively inferring contextual phenomena. So in this step, you inductively inference involves making educated guesses. So this step is basically regarding the educated guesses or hypothesis about the underlying meaning, pattern, or relationship in the data based on the coded content and contextual knowledge. So in this step, you basically create educated guesses based on your codes, that what your data is saying about a particular phenomena. So, in this step, the researcher uses deductive reasoning, means educated guesses, to interpret the coded data in the context of the research objective. Because the researcher knows what is the context of the research, so he's going to create some educated guesses. He may relate or may generate some theory or existing literature. This involves identifying and inferring contextual phenomena, relationship, or insight from the analyzed content. The last step is narrating the answer to the research question. Now, in this step, you narrate the answer to the research question involves synthesizing and presenting the finding from the content analysis in a coherent and meaningful narrative. So, the final step in content analysis is to interpret and narrate the finding in response to the research question. So, this involves synthesizing the results, providing insights, representation of facts and practical guidance for action based on analyzed content in a structured and coherent manner. So let me explain some application of these steps, these content analysis steps to a real scenario. So let's suppose that our research question is how are gender roles portrayed in a television commercial. This is basically our research question for a practical example for understanding how the content analysis works on a real situation. So how are gender roles portrayed in television commercial? You often see the television commercial in your local channels or in your international channels like cable TV or someone else. You see is how the gender roles portrayed, how males or females are portrayed in those commercials. So uh, how can we apply the 6 steps of Professor Claus on this scenario? The first step is unitizing or relying on unit of analysis. So how can we create the unit of analysis on this situation? So unit of analysis would be individual commercial because we need to see the television commercial for getting the data about how gender roles are portrayed. So individual commercial would be the unit of analysis of our consideration. What would be the rationale for using individual commercial? Each commercial will be considered as a separate unit of analysis to examine the portrayal of gender role. So you need to decide what is you are going to study and how you are going to study. So we are going to study the gender roles in TV commercials. So TV commercials, each individual commercial would be our unit of analysis. The second step would be sampling. Here, the sampling plan would be random sampling, and we randomly select 100 television commercial aired during prime time over a 1 month period. So we would see how the genders are portrayed using random sampling selected commercials. So what would be the rationale? This sample aims to provide a representative overview of the gender portrayals in television commercials. So the third step would be coding scheme or coding instruction. So we can create codes like male dominant, female dominant, gender neutral, stereotypical, non-stereotypical. Stereotypical means that sometimes the male are considered negative in some situation, while in some situations females are considered negative or portrayed negatively. So we need to decide which coding scheme is representing in those commercials. So coding process would include watch each selected commercial, code the gender portrayal based on the predefined coding schemes, though this is predefined coding scheme based on gender roles. So we need to watch each selected commercial and we need to decide whether that commercial is giving us male dominant scenario or female dominant scenario or gender neutral scenario or stereotypical scenario or non-stereotypical scenario. And rationale would be this coding scheme allows for a nuanced analysis of gender roles portrayed in the commercial. The next step, the fourth one, is reducing the data to manageable representations. So we will reduce the data, we will reduce some of the codes. So we calculate the frequency and percentage of each gender portrayal category. So identify common themes or pattern in the portrayal of gender roles. And this step helps in summarizing and simplifying the coded data to focus on the main finding and pattern. So it might be possible that we would be able to get more views on male dominant, less views on female. Uh, we may be getting no views for non-stereotypical or stereotypical discussion on these schemes. So we would be eliminating these two. We would be considering these three as a or these two as a manageable format of our content analysis. So in this step, we basically reduce unnecessary codes from our analysis procedure to make our analysis more meaningful. In the fifth step, we are going to analyze the data to identify the prevalent gender portrayals in television commercials. So infer the underlying messages, stereotypes, and societal values reflected in commercials. So we will infer whether males are dominated in these commercials or females are dominated in these commercials, and what are basically your guesses opinion, your educated guesses opinion about the contextual phenomena regarding these results. So this step involves inferring the coding data into the context of social norms, values, and broader cultural landscape. Like, for example, in Pakistani culture, if females are more portrayed in television commercials, it means they are basically biased towards the male, and they thinks that the Pakistani media thinks that portraying the females will uh, uh, basically increase the sale of their product. So we can infer like this. So you already know your local culture context. So you can make your education guesses on the basis of your own phenomena. The sixth step would be narrating the answer to the research questions. So in this step, you create a narrative presentation of the finding, like gender roles in the television commercials are predominantly portrayed in stereotypical manner, with male often depicted as a dominant and female as a submissive or decorative. There is a lack of gender neutral or non-stereotypical portrayals, reinforcing traditional gender stereotypes and roles. The portrayal of gender role in the television commercial reflect and perpetuates societal gender norms and expectations and so on. So this would be whether the findings of your research question actually reflect the actual research question that you were discussing. So the findings are synthesized and presented in a coherent and meaningful narrative to answer the research question and provide insight into the portrayal of gender roles in television commercials. So I would like to show you some of the papers on content analysis, and we would like to see their methodology, data collection analysis, and how they have applied the content analysis. So what was the purpose of their study and what they have found? So let me show you some of the papers on content analysis. I would share you at the end of this discussion. Previously, I have shared some of the paper with you. Today, I will share more paper with you regarding content analysis. This is one of the study which was published by Helion, content analysis of social and economic issues in Indonesia during the COVID-19 pandemic. So they have created a content analysis regarding the social and economic issues in Indonesia during COVID-19. So what was the purpose of their study? If you see here, the study of mass communication is based on the assumption that media plays a significant role in spreading the message about various aspects of life to the public. The frequency of published news is indicator of various level of problem. So sometimes the media create the hype, or media create some positive news or negative news regarding a particular phenomena. So the more attention paid by newspaper to the community, the more valuable it is in reporting problem. So this would be the purpose of the study, that they would like to see how these issues, social and economic issues, are highlighted by the media during COVID-19 pandemic. So what they have done, how they have uh, again, I am sharing the screen. This is their process of applying the content analysis. First, they have selected their unit of analysis. They considered unit of analysis as a media in Indonesia. So they have selected 112 online mass media in Indonesia as a unit of analysis. This is the sampling method. They have considered purposive sampling. They have used Entera News on it. Maybe this would be their channel regarding providing the media news. So they have considered online published news presented by Antara News from 28th February to 8th April using text, images, and videos. And you have created themes regarding social issues and economic issues as per the title of the studies. If you see the title of the study, it is basically the content analysis of social and economic issues. So their major themes are social and economic issues. So they have created their themes. So they have analyzed the result like this. They have identified information theory and some other paradigms in this research, and they have applied this method. So these are basically the codes they have created. They have identified number of news item and their percentage. If you see here, the highest percentage in these news was about the regulation. It was identified 351 times during that period, and its percentage is approximately 19 percentage. The second important theme they have identified is social funds and charities. It was used 229 times as a frequency, and its percentage is 12.14. The third important code or theme which they have identified is humanities. It was used 200 times with this percentage. The fourth is availability of infrastructure and so on. You can see a lot of themes or a lot of content which were used in these news of Antara News. So they have created a chart like this. This is a column chart of social issues, and they have created word frequency where regulation is highlighted more as per the analysis. So their news channel discuss regulation, social funds, infrastructure, humanity, charity, culture, facilities, appeal, education, religion, and the other themes like this more oftenly. So this is a word cloud they have created using NVIVO. I will let you know how this word cloud is created. This is the total news matrix in Antara News based on economic issues. So previous one was basically the social issues. These are social issues. So they have identified some themes relevant to social issues. And these are basically economic issues which were discussed on these TV channels. So exchange rate was discussed 793 times with this percentage. So there are another some of the themes which they have discussed. So they have created a graph like this using these themes. because exchange rate was considered 29.96 times. And if you see, this is basically the word cloud where exchange rate is predominantly shown in this word cloud. So this is created using the NVIVO software. So you can apply the content analysis like this. So I will share this one with you. The second best paper is stressor among healthcare worker, a summative content analysis. They have also applied the similar method, qualitative research design, and what they have find out, there is a demographic summary. Their theme one is work. They have also created some sub themes here. These are some of the themes, their frequency of repeating and their percentage of repeatance. So you can find out how they have applied this particular phenomena. There is another third paper, FinTech, a content analysis of finance and information system literature. So they have basically considered the literature review. The amount of research related to financial technology, fintech has grown rapidly since these modalities have been implemented. So our review of this literature base will help identify the topic that have been explored and identify topic for further research. So I think they have used the literature review for identifying the topics, the focus, and the categories of this research. So they have identified 146 articles within last 20 years and 70 articles published in the information system during this period. So they have identified how the content analysis work with this particular phenomena. So this is how they have applied the content analysis using this particular technique. This is basically the word cloud they have created. So fintech and financial technology were more frequently used in these articles. So another article is there, paper 4, using TikTok to educate, influence, or inspire, a content analysis of health related education talk videos. So you can also see this. You should read the methodology, how they have applied. Our research conducted mixed method content analysis of 400 TikTok videos. So they have basically used TikTok videos as a unit of analysis. 400 TikTok videos they have used. So different types of TikTok videos they have used for their analysis. They have created some themes or sub themes like you can see here health topics 82 times with this percentage. So you can apply any kind of topic with this content analysis. So this was all about today's discussion. If you have any question, you can ask. Please let me know if you have any question. You can ask. I think there is no question from the participants, so let's conclude this session. We will discuss uh, the next technique, which is thematic versus content analysis, the comparison, and we will also discuss the discourse analysis and its application as a final analysis method. And from Monday, we will going to discuss the NVIVO software with its real application. So thank you very much for joining for today's session. So stay blessed.